Hello YouTube, it's me Scotty Campbell with Nighthawk Treasure Ops. In this segment I want to show you guys an idea of how you can use creativity and thinking outside of the box to come up with your own tools to help aid you in your treasure hunting ventures. And this happens to be one that I came up with. I was searching videos on YouTube and reading countless blogs and threads on various treasure hunting sites, and there's a product out on the market called a plug popper, and I think it's by Jimmy Sierra, and they took a tube and put serrated teeth on one end and welded a T-handle on the other end with a plunger. You shove it into the ground and you pull the plug out, and then when you get finished checking your hole for your targets or whatnot, and use the plunger to push the hole back into the ground. Well, I had went to Lowe's and I found this, one of those bowl planters that you use in your garden. I mean, it's nothing elaborate or anything like that. I think I paid like $7 or $8 for it. And also, lying around the house, I had one of these ratchet rod caulk guns. And I was looking at it and I was like, that would be a pretty neat idea if I could mount that in the inside of that bowl planter and merge the two together and come up with my own plug popper. I mean, you know, it doesn't go but like 4 inches into the ground, but most of your coins and jewelry and things of that nature are no more than 1.5 to 4 inches in the ground anyway. So what I did was I took that ratchet rod caulk gun, and I cut the extension end off of it that you put your caulk tube in. And I used my Dremel rotary tool, or you could use a hacksaw. The Dremel was a lot quicker. Once I did that, I removed this rod from it by taking this bolt loose here on the end, and I took the rod out of the ratchet system, and I drilled a hole right here in the top of my bowl planter, and I stuck the rod back in it. That pretty much centered it within the inside of the bowl planter itself. And then before I put it back together, I drilled a hole on the caulk ratchet rod gun here and here on this side, and then I put it back, pushed the rod back in, put it back together, and put the plunger here back on the end. And I took 2 wood cutting screws and I drilled a hole in the side of the bowl planter here and here. And I put 2 wood screws in there, and the holes that I drilled were slightly smaller than these wood cutting screws. So once I put them in there, it gave me I had to really put a lot of torque in getting these screws in, but that was good because it gives me a nice tight fit, and it holds real nice. And I also did the same thing with the handle. When I placed it back on, I put wood cutting screw here and here, because before there was just one long thin bolt that went through there. But then I didn't want this loose, and I didn't want to use super glue, so I already had a couple of little short wood cutting screws laying around, so I put them here and here, and it made it for a nice secure fit. So this is what I have. This is the finished product, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull it out, twist the rod around, I'm going to pull it back, all the way back. Let's see, yeah, there we go. I'm going to pull it all the way back, and I'm going to cut a plug and show you how convenient this is with metal detecting. So here goes. Stick it in the ground here. Like I said, you're not going to get no more than 4 inches with this, but you do that, shake it around a little bit. Well, that didn't work out too well. I hit something while I was down there. Let me try another spot. Sorry about that, guys. I was out here yesterday testing this, and I hit something. Alright, let's try that. Shake it a little bit and you pull it out. Now you see your hole? See how nice and uniform that hole is? And you would check in there and look for your target and everything, use your pen pointer or whatever. When you got finished, now before I made the modification to this thing, I was having a heck of a time trying to get those plugs out. I was mashing the handle, because as you can see here, right there, if you mash that handle in, it would spread it apart. But when you're using this in moist ground, that moisture in the soil will cause it to stick to the inside walls. and it was next to impossible to get it out, and I had to shake it, and by the time I got it out, the plug was destroyed. So I use this modification here, and let's see, I'll turn the rod around so I can engage the ratchet system, and I'll ratchet it back in place. I don't know if you guys can see that. You see that? It puts it right back in there, and then you just cover it up and you're good to go. Now, if you're going to use something like this, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, your pinpointing has to be dead on, because I tried this before the modification. I tried this in Garland Park. You guys know that's where I do a lot of my hunting at. That's my practice and proving ground. I shoved this thing into the ground, and I scratched up a 1964 Memorial penny, landed right on top of it, and that was pretty disappointing. But hey, you live and you learn. That's how you come up with these different modifications. You take these things out into the field and you test them out, and then you find out what works and what doesn't, and then you take notes, and then when you go back to the drawing board, you sit down and you figure out what you liked about it, what you didn't like about it, improve on it, and eventually you'll come up with something that you're happy with. But here it is, guys. Maybe in the future I'll actually go back to Lowe's and get one of these and get a ratchet rod caulk gun, and I will actually go through the steps of modifying it, taking it apart, doing what needs to be done, and putting it together on a video, and maybe a series of them, because you know on YouTube your videos can only be like 10 minutes long, and do a series of them so you can see how this is done. But this is a really neat tool to have in your arsenal of digging tools for your treasure hunt adventures. And I hope you enjoyed this segment, and I hope it sparked your imagination and to get you wanted to start thinking outside the box and coming up with your own little modifications. For Nighthawk Treasure Ops, this is Scotty Campbell.